Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Herndon. I've been a member at this church for many years now. I would suspect that since our congregational meeting that every speaker who comes to this pulpit, it's going to be a little difficult to stand here and talk and think about all the memories from all the many years. So bear with me today. So, welcome to this physical space. A tradition has named this a church, but we recognize that we are a collection of human beings that make one community, a gathering of love and spirit, and though we are at different stages of life, we can still feel the connection that is our spiritual DNA. We remember those who have come before us. Our ancestors are many, and their collective memories guide us and direct us through all of our days. We are conscious that the land that we occupy is borrowed and shared. The universe has granted us a perfect place to grow our food, give us shelter, and give us space for spiritual practice. To that end, we are also conscious that we must protect the land that we borrow so that the generations to come can grow and thrive in harmony and love with the universe that is. We also recognize that the land is occupied from the first people, the one the Europeans called Alainawik, but who called themselves Enoka. Others have come to invade and seize, while others live in harmony with and share. Our land is also baptized in the blood, sweat, and a river of tears from the enslaved Africans who were forced from their home and the homes of their ancestors to become chattel property here in this land. May our spiritual practice recognize these relationships as we strive to live in harmony with our past, our present, and be forever conscious of the future that we create. We are a spiritual people, a people of faith, a people of love. We are Unitarian Universalists. Now, Joy will play our prelude this morning. The lit chalice suggests the transformations that take place when we are held within religious community. When we light the chalice in worship, we illuminate a world that we feel called upon to serve with love and a sense of justice. Please join in the chalice lighting words on your screen. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Our opening words this morning are by the Reverend Susan Frederick Ray, the president of the UUA. Living the values that Unitarian Universalism calls us to is not easy. They call us to audaciously imagine a world where no one is disposable and where everyone can thrive. They also call us to the struggle that brings these ideals to fruition. Our first hymn this morning is number 121 in the gray hymnal. We'll Build a Land, number 121. Please rise if you're able. For our meditation this morning, I'm going to do a song on the guitar, but just give a little prelude here. Let us calm our breath. Let it lengthen, emptying ourselves as we prepare to be filled. Whatever last week delivered, whatever next week will hold, let us focus on our breath. Let us focus on the right here and the right now. And let us come back home to ourselves and all that's already been true. I'm going to do the hymn, Though I May Speak. Though I may speak with bravest fire, and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass. and striving soul, my love profess, but not begin, my love within, the prophets sing, stern strangely thin. Come, spirits, come, our hearts control. Our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship, and we are free. We have many joys and concerns, especially after this last week of all the catastrophic flood that's occurred here in our own community, and then the catastrophic floods that have occurred in Kentucky and Tennessee. So we do hold all people who have been affected by these, tempted to say, man-made catastrophes that have been wrought upon us. Hold all these people in our hearts. As we contemplate our joys and concerns, I would invite you to come forward to light one of the candles in the front here and to return to your seats. For all these joys and concerns, both spoken and unspoken, we keep them in our hearts. Our reading this morning comes also from our UUA president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Ray, and it's entitled, Our Commitment to Democracy is Theological. Our democracy in the United States is fragile. We have reached a watershed moment that will determine how we move forward as a nation. Despite its founding principles, we have never lived up to the promise of justice for all. We, the people, has never included everyone. It was only 56 years ago when the Voting Rights Act finally expanded and protected the right to vote for Black Americans. And it was only realized because of the prophetic leadership, organizing, and sacrifices of those in the civil rights movement. We recognize that it is no small endeavor to create a truly democratic society. Unitarian Universalists' commitment to justice, equity, and democracy is not just political or moral, it is fundamentally theological. It grows from our affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person and the knowledge that we are all interconnected. It reflects the fact that our theology is not so much concerned with the afterlife, but is accountable to human experience and the conditions of people's lives here and now. Human dignity and interdependence are the foundation of our commitment to a multiracial, pluralistic democracy. True democracy is inclusive, and we each have a stake in helping to determine our country's future. We launched UU the Vote in 2019, knowing how much our democracy was under attack. When I first imagined the campaign, I hoped we could reach 1 million potential voters. I also wondered, could we really do it? In the end, we reached over 3 million potential voters. We played a critical role in the largest, most accessible, transparent election in history. UU the Vote was a strategic campaign rooted in a vision of a more just, equitable, and anti-racist society. It was intended to strengthen partnerships between our congregations and organizing efforts led by Black, Indigenous, and Latinx people and directly impacted communities. It is easy to feel overwhelmed by the significant challenges before us in addressing the pandemic fairly, in combating white supremacy, and in defending democracy against attacks that persist in a myriad of systematic forms, including new restrictive voter suppression laws. This is why we must stay engaged and organized to defend and expand equity for everyone. Let us draw strength, joy, and hope from one another in what we have accomplished, but may it inspire us to keep dreaming big, to keep moving forward, to keep organizing for liberation, and to keep answering the call of love and justice. This is the subject of the talk that I wanted to give today about voting, about the UU the Vote 2020, which originally started, but now will become UU the Vote 2022, and what we might do and what our efforts might be toward that. What is our most sacred right as citizens of this country? I have the privilege at where I've worked to work with many people from other countries, and I remember a friend of mine years ago, when getting ready to take the citizenship test, asked me what was the most important right as a citizen of the United States. Without hesitation, I said, to vote. That is our most sacred right that we have. According to USA Facts, and when you're looking at presidential voting rates compared to the total age of the population or total voting age, in other words, people that actually vote in presidential elections compared to people who are eligible to vote. In 1965, it was over 70%, but it has steadily and increasingly gone down ever since. The low was in 1996 and 2000, where it was below 50%. The people that were eligible to vote actually voted. There's been a slight upward trend now, and by 2022, it was 61 to 62%. Interestingly, if you look at different factors, if you look at education, it has always been consistently the same that people with higher education tend to vote more than people with little or no education. Also by race, there's been very consistent numbers there. By age, people who are a little bit older tend to vote more than younger people. By sex, interestingly enough, in 1965 through 1980, men were more likely to vote than women, but that trend switched in 1980, and now it's more women are likely to vote than men. So Elections have consequences. If we want to embrace change or not, we must vote or we must run for office. No office or election that we vote for is too small. Look at our own neighborhood. Local Alton elections certainly have had impact upon us. Anti-choice, or what I would call degenerative anti-progress forces, have turned into have focused on elections from cities and county boards to school boards to library boards, park boards, community college trustees, and of course, federal elections. As we have seen recently, they have consequences that are historic, degenerative consequences. Because our Supreme Court is appointed by the ruling party, the change that they can manifest has consequences that will last for generations. We could change this. We could enshrine privacy, body autonomy, rights into the Constitution as amendments. But so far, we do not, as a society, seem to have the desire or the will to force these changes. However, in Illinois on June 12, 2019, Governor J.B. Pritzker signed into law the Illinois Reproductive Health Act. In part, the act says that women have a fundamental right to access abortion services and that a fertilized egg, embryo, or fetus does not have independent rights. The Illinois Supreme Court has recognized this right. Elections have consequences. Anti-choice, anti-autonomy forces are not giving up in Illinois. Recently, I heard that the Belleville bishop is selling his palace to raise money to fight a woman's right to body autonomy. Every level of elected offices are people of degenerative progressive ideology who are waiting to impose their own Taliban-like system, their degenerative system, on those of us who are outside their ideology. Those of you who live in Missouri have experienced degenerative ideology firsthand. Missouri's new abortion laws are some of the most strict and lethal for women in the entire country. Even women who experience difficult pregnancies will have limited medical options. This will endanger their lives, and not to mention those people who experience ectopic or tubal pregnancies are doomed to experience some of the most harsh medical treatment that is available. Women will die in Missouri and many other states because elections have consequences. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people of faith, but not an empty faith. In the 2020 election cycle, UU the Vote reached, as I read before, millions of voters with volunteers, and they also partnered with various organizations all across the country. So we didn't do it just alone. We did it by partnering with other local congregations, other local nonprofit agencies, anyone that could join into the UU the Vote campaign. Grassroots organizers of more than 800 UU the Vote volunteers in Georgia made thousands of phone calls from their homes. And in partnership with Georgia Equity, they created and coordinated the Peaches and Pride, an LGBTQ-focused voter mobilization. One of many examples of success that UU the Vote scored in the 2020 election. Nicole Presley, the national organizer for UU the Vote, has said that these early successes helped many UUs understand that our community has power. So what can we do? First of all, we can vote and make sure those of us around us vote. Get involved in continuing the UU Vote. I will be here to continue and coordinate the UU Vote campaign that we do for this church. And hopefully we'll continue through this election cycle and many more too. So through the UUANI, which is the Unitarian Universalist Action Network of Illinois, We have applied for a very small grant, $250, to provide us with some postcards and some postage, also some offset costs for copying and other things in paper, where we will initiate a postcard writing campaign to send out to as many voters and eligible voters as we can here. So we will be beginning this campaign in the early fall, and hopefully many of you can join in. Alex is going to put on the screen a couple websites that I want to focus on too. So one is called Center for Common Ground, that has some suggestions for postcarding. The other one is voteforward.org, which is the You the Vote website, and this is going to be a program that we will be pushing here coming just prior to this next election. Locally, we have partnered with the YWCA, and the shirt that I'm wearing today, this is part of a group that I was with, and I represented our church here in this group, where we had voter information forums. We conducted 3 voter information forums where first one we invited a lot of candidates for county-wide offices. We had the county board. We invited county board people who were running for election. We invited the state's attorneys. We invited the county clerk. We had questions that we came up with and questions that we solicited from the community, where we asked the candidates questions. The next forum we had were for state representatives, state reps, and U.S. Congress as well. And then a third forum that we conducted was for the Alton elections and the Godfrey elections. So we had the Alton mayor and the Godfrey mayor, and all those candidates were running for those elections to answer questions. That was a Zoom meeting. The others two were in person. We also conducted a listening tour last June 13th celebration in Killian Park. We set up a booth. We partnered with a local Alton podcast, where we were asking African American Alton citizens to give us their stories and different their stories about living in Alton and what they would like to see in elections and like to see in their elected officials. So we are out there doing these things, and I invite all of you to join with us as we get this going. And then we hope to reconstitute the YWCA group again this year. Though we took a little bit of a time off and kind of regrouping again here. So look for that in the near future. We will be preparing, and we will be doing what we can to get out the vote this next election and every election from now on, because, as I stressed earlier, elections have consequences. We are seeing that so strongly right now, and there is things we can do. So thank you very much for today. And now we will move into our offering. We offer the gentle reminder that this community of faith is supported only by your giving. We need each other, and in times of trial, we need each other even more. You can mail your gift to the church at the Post Office Box 494, Alton, Illinois, or you can give electronically by searching First Unitarian Church on the Give Liffey app or by using the PayPal on our website. We ask you to give what you will, for you are a generous people. Please join me in our offering prayer this morning. May this offering equip us to inspire love and to seek justice. For our final hymn this morning will be number 170. It is "We Are a Gentle, Angry People." It's number 170. And our great hymn. Please stand if you're willing. We have one announcement this morning. There are lost and found items on the table in the hall that's on the entrance over the other side of the church there. Even if they're not yours, take something you want because everything's going to Goodwill. It's not taken. So just take a look over there at the table. And I also encourage you to look at your church emails, look at the church website for announcements. There's a lot of events upcoming soon, so take a look there. And please join me in our unison words for extinguishing the chalice. The light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are keepers of this flame until we meet again. Our benediction this morning is a reiteration of our words of our president of the UUA, Susan Frederick Gray. Let us draw strength, joy, and hope from one another and all we have accomplished. May it inspire us to keep dreaming big, to keep moving forward, to keep organizing for liberation, and to keep answering the call of love and justice. Please join us in the work.